redistricting, a once-in-a-decade event. So the first item is the call to order. The second item is the pledge. So if people would please join me in standing and facing the east if you are able. The pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, everyone, for that. The next item before us is public comments. For Assistant Clerk Pfeiffer, Amber, did we have any registrations for public comment?
We did not have any registrations.
Okay, well then we will move on to the committee reports. The only committee report we have before us is the Ad Hoc Redistricting Committee. Alder Tate II, would you please read the item?
All right, item 0832-21, communication sponsored by Alder Tate II, recommending the following ward map be adopted and submitted to Racine County in accordance with Section 5.5 of Wisconsin State Statute. The recommendation of the committee was that the ward map proposed by the Alder of the 14th be approved, and the Common Council President, City Administrator, and City Attorney represent the city in the redistricting reconciliation process with Racine County. There is no fiscal note. At this time, I will move to reject that recommendation. Yes.
Okay, there's a motion to reject the item. Is there a
Second.
seconded by, I believe, was that Alder Santiago who seconded?
Both of us. It doesn't
Yes.
matter.
Okay, I think Edwin got there first. So Alder Tate, would you like to speak to your motion?
Actually, I'd like to yield to Alder Meekma to speak to this item.
Okay, Alder Meekma.
Thank you. All right, so we've had a good time to this point. It's been super fun, and we find ourselves in a very interesting, unique, historic, challenging situation here as we've kind of gone through this process. I guess I kind of want to start by saying thank you to all the staff and all the alders that have worked on this in such a very short amount of time. This is a process that really deserves months of attention, in my opinion, but we only had a few weeks. I definitely want to express to all the alderwomen and men here this evening how difficult of a process this was. It's not as simple as moving a line here or a block there. There's really a myriad of factors that need to be considered. And some of those were clear and obvious, and others definitely were much more intricate and indistinct. Many of the factors that I considered, even throughout the day today, as I continue to tinker with the plan, and even though we do have a plan here for recommendation, because of the information that had been brought up last night and things that I hadn't accounted for, and again throughout the day today, it definitely has made me reconsider a lot of things, as this process seems to be unending. I expressed at the committee meeting last night that I liked many things about each map, but I didn't love any of them. Unfortunately, we are at the mercy of time. And it really did take a lot of courage for each committee member to share and discuss and attempt to come to a consensus on a map. I definitely would wager that none of the committee members left last night feeling truly satisfied with the way that it all has gone. But again, it's just been at the mercy of time. We really were charged with coming up with the best version of a map for our wards for the next decade, which is kind of a big deal. And there's a lot of pressure as you're going through that process. We were under a time crunch. We really had to do our best to fit our wards into a supervisory plan that did not necessarily take the needs of our community into consideration. So when we voted last night, I believe that we voted narrowly to pass a plan that might at that time have been good enough. After a lot of thought and a lot of reflection on the parameters we set as a committee, the expectations of the community, and being able to re-envision my map again and again, even since last night, it's a unorthodox thing, I think, probably for me to say, but I really, honestly, sincerely, truly, I don't believe that we made the right choice last night. I did a lot of reflecting on this. I did a lot of as I said, tinkering again throughout the day. I want us to move forward with the plan that makes the most sense. I don't believe that my map that I presented does that. I know this does complicate the process, but I sincerely want to do the best and most right thing. It's not about ego. This is about doing the best thing for our community. And with that said, I think that I will support this motion to reject this plan. And I would encourage the body to vote similarly. I appreciate all of your patience. Again, I know this is not the most logical way that I'm proceeding here based on how everything played out last night. But as I said, it's been hard to navigate a very challenging process. And it's been a twisting, turning road that's led me to this point and agreeing with this motion. So thank you, everybody, for hearing me out, hearing my opinion on this motion and where we're at on this, and hopefully we'll be able to come up with the best way to proceed as a body. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Mi'kmaq. President Tate II.
Thank you. I just wanted to speak particularly to the motion and also recognize the efforts of everybody on the committee. We produced 4 maps. None of us are professional map makers. We all tried to take the discussions that were had and the opinions of other alders and the considerations into account. And I want to especially acknowledge Alder Mi'kmaq for his just utmost integrity of recognizing, if something falls short of the ideal that we're aiming for or isn't as close to the ideal that we're aiming for, to be able to acknowledge that and recognize that there's still an opportunity to kind of change course and get closer to where we want to be. Because I agree, given the circumstances that we're working under, the time frame, the parameters that we're working with, and quite frankly, even some of the data that we have to work with that isn't, as accurate as we actually need it to be, trying to do this process in a way that does a service and justice to the communities that we represent and the constituents that we serve, has been an incredible challenge. And I am just honored to have led that process and honored to have worked with these 4 alders, Mi'kmaq, Jones, Caprellian, and Pete in this process, collaboratively, contentiously, but nonetheless collectively. So I will encourage others to vote yes towards the motion of rejecting this in hopes that we can make an alternate motion in adopting a map that more closely reaches the goals that the committee set forth to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you, President Tate II. Other comments on the motion to reject? Alder Perez.
Thank you, Your Honor. So that was a quick motion and I didn't quite understand how it moved so quickly with the explain. Is this a motion to reject the whole plan and start over? Or what is this a motion to do?
And just to clarify, what you have before you is a motion to reject the maps that were adopted at the ad hoc committee last night. What you also see on the agenda attached are the other alternate maps, which could be considered moving forward. But I don't want to, it depends on how this motion goes on rejection. But that's what you have before you is essentially you have 4 options in front of you. What you have coming out of committee was one of the maps that was adopted, and what you've heard is a motion to reject and the author of that map concurring with that position.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Alder Pete.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I am in support of rejecting the map that is before us because it is not conclusive or inclusive of the total population. It's missing some variables that are critical when it comes to both the state and federal rules and regulations. I think the map, and I'm not sure, again, you got to remember I am new at this, so if I speak out of turn, I apologize up front. But I think the map that was presented by Alder Tate is more inclusive of the total population. It fits the parameters of what we're charged to do as a governing body of the city. Therefore, I could not support the map that is before us. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Pete. Further discussion on the motion before us. Again, what we have before us is a motion to reject the recommendation of the ad hoc committee last night. Any further discussion on that item? Any further discussion on the motion to reject? Seeing none, when the clerk calls your name, please vote as you wish. Again, this is a motion to reject the map adopted in yesterday's ad hoc committee. Amber?
Mr. Chair, if you could clarify what a yes vote would mean and what a no vote would mean, since we're kind of using it.
Yeah, it's a double negative. So a yes vote is a vote to concur with the rejection of the map last night. So if you're voting yes, you are voting down the map adopted last night. If you vote no, you're voting against that effort and can continue the discussion from there. So a yes vote is a rejection of the map adopted last night. Any further discussion on that point of order? It's an important distinction since it is a double negative. Seeing no further discussion or points of order, when the clerk calls your name, please vote as you wish.
Alder Taft,
Yes.
Alder Mikma,
Yes.
Alder Lemke,
Yes.
Alder Koh,
No.
Alder Jones,
Yes.
Alder Tate II,
Aye.
Alder Santiago,
Aye.
Alder Caprillion,
Aye.
Alder Peterson,
Yes.
Alder Horton,
Aye.
Alder West,
Aye.
Alder Pete,
Yes.
Alder Rouse,
Aye.
Alder Perez,
Yes.
13 ayes, 1 no.
The motion to reject that map carries. Alder Tate II, would you like
Sure.
to make a motion?
I would like to move that the ward map proposed by the Alder of the 3rd District be approved and that the Common Council President, Alder Jason Mikma, the City Administrator, and the City Attorney represent the city in the redistricting reconciliation process with the county.
Second.
It was seconded by, I'm sorry, I didn't see who seconded it. If whoever did could raise their hand physically.
I did, but I think I was late.
Uh,
I think it was Santiago. He's very quick tonight.
Alder Santiago, did you second the motion? Well, now he's disappeared. So I will give the second to Alder Jones. Alder Tate II, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, please. So as I spoke briefly before about the effort and time that this took, I can't overemphasize the pride that I feel for the members of this committee in doing this work that is so important and so critical as this very few decisions that we make as a council, well, actually a lot of decisions that we make as a council affect long-term things, but very few of them are they such that we get to make a decision once and we don't get to come back to it for a long period of time. A lot of things we do, we can make a motion, we can take action, but if we so chose, we could go back and reverse that. This is one of those things that not only affects us and persists throughout the remainder of the decade, but also ripples to other levels of government, because the ward plan that we're adopting will also be what the county board has to constitute their districts from. It's what the state assembly will have to constitute their districts from, what the state senate will have to constitute their districts from, what the federal Congress, House of Representatives will have to constitute their districts from, and the school board. So this is by no means a small task. It's by no means a frivolous task. And I think everyone who's participated in this, whether you were among the committee members or an alder who attended, whether it's the public hearing or any of the other meetings, I think it was definitely a learning experience for every one of us. As Alder Caprillion said many times, very few of the members of the council who were there for the last time this occurred are here this time. So much of what we learned we'll probably take with us, and it won't be here for the next time this occurs. But hopefully, we all certainly stay engaged in that process and share that wisdom if we're not here. But I'm just so grateful to these members and this body for one, kind of electing me to be council president, because you put me in a position to have to usher this particular process through that only happens once in a decade. And I'm just honored to have, worked with you all, argued with you all, shared feedback with you all, received feedback from you all, and going forward and creating a map that maximizes that kind of the voices of our constituency at various levels of government. Because I think as representatives at the lowest level of government, the most local level of government, one of the best things we can do is ensure that our people are heard the most they can be at levels that go beyond our power and authority. And that's what I attempted to do in creating this map. It's maximizing that opportunity to have voices echo beyond the local government and affect those other areas, while also considering the Voting Rights Act to ensure that we have 7 to 8, which this map produces 7 majority minority districts, to make sure that we're being cognizant of the county's need to be able to come fit with these maps, and taking that into consideration in that process, so that we have a short period of time. We received an email earlier today that says they'd like to have those finalized by November 9th, which is just a few weeks from today. And I think the map that was produced and that's being considered for adoption is positioned well to kind of easily get through that reconciliation process and adjust any lines without collapsing the entire process. So I just am very honored and proud to have been a part of this process, and grateful to been in this position, and to carry forth the confidence that you all put in me as council president to see this to this point. So thank you again for that opportunity, and I hope we adopt this map and move forward in a way that it maximizes the voices of our constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Tate II. Alder Perez.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I'm trying to understand this. So this means that if we do approve this, the other two don't even get considered? Is that correct?
So again, there are 4 options before you. One was presented from committee that has been rejected. So the next item before us is to adopt one of those maps. So yes, if this particular motion were to pass, then that would be the map that the council adopts. If it fails, there are 2 other choices the council can consider.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, it's a good question. Alder Rouse.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think this is way too important of a decision to make without bringing it to board for everyone else to see. I think it would have been a little different if, let's say, the ad hoc committee accepted their recommendation and then we voted on that, then that's the task force that we sent them for. But since they rejected their own recommendation, it's all up to us now to make this decision. I think it'd be wrong if we didn't then look at each one of those individual maps, have each others then present why they thought it was more valuable. And it's unfortunate that it's contentious, and I feel that because everyone takes pride in the work that they do and you care a lot about what you do. No one wants to say that their map was not the one, that they want to pick somebody else's over their own. I get that, and that's hard. So let us look at that. Let us make that decision after. So I would reject this motion now in favor of looking at those other maps, having that discussion with the full council, seeing that this is such a big decision, and then making a recommendation after that.
Thank you, Alder Rouse. Alder Coe.
I will be voting against this. I've been through this a couple of times, and my biggest thing was the last 2, the geographical borders was Wirt River, and they want to move my district now across Wirt River, and I'm adamantly opposed to that. It's really spreading the borders out. I used to go further west. They took that away and stuff like that, but consistently the last 2 times, the Wirt River was the border, and that was came out of recommendations out of the last 2 ad hocs. So I will be voting no on this item. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Alder Coe. Alder Taft.
Thank you. So I guess I'm going to vote in favor of this proposal, in part because I believe that, you know, I appreciate what Alder Rouse has to say about us having the opportunity to weigh in. We did get we were all emailed all of the maps. We have had opportunities to see all of the maps. We've had a number of opportunities as alders to sit in on committee meetings. I was present for all 3 hours of the meeting yesterday, even though I wasn't on the committee, and had the opportunity to speak multiple times to my district and also regarding issues that I thought were important overall. So I feel that we've all had ample opportunity to be heard, and also we will all have ample opportunity to be heard in the reconciliation process. If alders Tate II and Alder Mi'kmaq are involved in the reconciliation process, I feel comfortable calling both of them and talking through issues I have with the maps and priorities about reconciliation. And I think they'd be very open to having that discussion with each of us if we have issues with the maps, because I think reconciliation is an opportunity to tweak a little bit as necessary. As I said in the committee last night, my sort of top 2 maps were Alder Tate II's and Alder Mi'kmaq's, and I want to thank Alder Mi'kmaq for being very gracious about explaining why he supported the reasons to reject his own map, which I know he spent a lot of time and effort on. I think that Alder Tate was the most intentional in considering the Voting Rights Act and that impact, and as well as intentional about balancing the city's needs with what the county presented as their draft before reconciliation, and making sure that that reconciliation process would be a smooth one with the county. Clearly, President Tate has thought a lot about the nuts and bolts of how that was going to proceed. It may be true that the math may work out with other folks having majority minority districts, 7 or more majority minority districts, but Alder Tate was the only one that was intentional about it from the get-go and laid that out in the beginning. And that's really important to me. So I guess in summary, we've all had numerous opportunities to be involved. We will have opportunities to be involved again through reconciliation. We've all had the opportunity to see the maps. And all of the maps significantly interest our districts. Every single map significantly interested my district in different ways. So I think that's something that we're like, regardless of which map we choose, we're fixing the sort of weird lightning bolt of the 9th district, hopefully. And we all have had our district significantly altered in different ways. I lose some stuff that I didn't want to lose, like Rubberville. I, gain some things I didn't have. So I just think, I think I agree that given all the information that we've seen and the conversation we've had with everybody and the participation in last night's meeting, I'm very confident that since we've rejected already one of the maps, especially that President Tate's map is the one we should be putting forward, especially considering we've had ample time to consider. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Alder Taft. Alder Caprillion.
Thank you. Shocked, not sure what to say. However, if this has now been rejected, the ad hoc's recommendation has been rejected, and we are asking for the full body to consider a map, they need to be part and see both maps. There was 2 viable maps. There was 4 created. 1 did not equally divide the districts. Some districts were not the appropriate sizes that we needed. It was said that all of you got to see the maps. Realize I've been part of this process for a while. The maps that got sent to me, you are not able to zoom in, deviate, see the numbers, see the lines. So none of you would have been able to do that on the maps that got mailed to you without getting the link into the actual WISE system that I had sent you early on. So the other additional maps, you would not have been able to look at it with those details. You see a PDF. Like I said, have been skilled in it, and I had problems. I had to email and ask for all of us to get the link so I can total up and add the numbers to even see if they made sense on Mi'kmaq's map, which they ended up not making sense. So if you are saying all the others had an opportunity to look at that, who have been skilled in it, have none of this made sense. You actually needed to go through the WISE system. We would need to see Tate and myself, the last remaining viable maps to be shown before this whole body for us to be making a decision, unless we have decisions already made for other reasons. But you would have to, if this is a decision that if the ad hoc's recommendation was denied, it now leans on this full body to bring forth what map makes the most sense. This is for our history's sake. You owe it to this process. We need to be able to walk through those points that Alder Taft brought up, making assumptions that one person doesn't look at something over the other. That's just how it's presented. Let's look at that and see, they need to be tenets of map making. Let's see which ones check the box. Let's see what this whole body feels is most important. If it is the majority minority district, let's see how both of us line up. Or minority majority district, let's see how they line up. Let's see how the connectivity or the deviation or compactness, what are the things that we want to vote, that we all see and want to vote for, and let's line them up and see which one makes sense. But we would be doing a huge disservice if we move forward and you have only been able to look at one map without the details. That will say a lot to me if you guys vote yes, because this did not give you enough details to make those assumptions that Taft has laid out.
You're muted.
Alder Pete, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. First of all, I'd like to thank Alder Meekma for his integrity and the hard work that he and everyone else, including myself, did put into this process. And I, with all respect to my colleague, Alder Caprillion, we have to remember that we all, whether we were on the committee or not, did have an opportunity to participate in every meeting. I did see some things in the maps that were sent out today that I hadn't really had a chance to totally absorb mentally earlier when I compared the 3 maps that are still on the table, or 2 maps, if you will. And one thing I did notice is that President Tate's map is not only, as I said before, more inclusive, but it does lend a great deal of flexibility to our partners at the county level. So I feel that, and again, addressing one of the concerns brought up, or has been brought up at some of the meetings, the districts did follow the parameters set forth, the 5180 number or whatever it was, with the deviations that were put into our spec sheet. With that was covered. It's not really difficult if you do have, during the reconciliation process, make some, at the county level, make some minor adjustments. But I think it does, Alder Tate's map does do a more inclusive, it's more inclusive of the city's goals, objectives. And we all have to remember that we're not just looking at today. We're looking at, as my colleague Alder Caprillion pointed out, we're looking at 10 years from now, and we're looking at constant changes. And I'm reiterating many things that have been said before, and I'm saying it for the benefit of people who may or may not have been on some of the calls. But we're looking at areas of expansion, such as Alder West's district up on Northwestern, downtown, the downtown area. So there are many variables. And again, in all good consciousness, we have to look at the fact that we need to consider the map, Alder Tate's map, because it did take all of these variables into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Pete. Alder Taft, did you want to speak again?
I'd like to call the question, please.
I don't, I'm just trying to see who else is in the queue. we do have two other people in the queue. I'd like to let them speak first and then see where we are, if we're close to the end of the debate here. And we have, actually, Alder Jones hasn't had a chance to speak to it at all yet. So Alder Jones.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would speak in supportive of Alder Tate II's map for a variety of reasons. The county seemed to want the city to go within their supervisory guidelines, which would, I believe, greatly impact our city as a whole as far as representation for our districts and our wards. We are allowed to draw the maps and maybe extend outside of the wards outside of the supervisory districts. And that would be great. But I don't believe that we needed to adhere 100% to those. And I agree with Alder Taft, Alder Mi'kmaq, and it was the Alder Pete, as far as Alder Tate's maps being more inclined with our city residents, our minority population, and trying to make sure that they have an equal opportunity to vote, because being an African-American people, I know how it is to be disenfranchised from voting. Not that this would matter, but I feel I need to say it. I grew up in Mississippi. And when I first tried to vote at 18, eggs were thrown at me. Dogs were, sent to attack me, so to speak, while walking, trying to vote. I just believe that Alder Tate's map does give us a clear minority, majority, as far as equalizing and making sure that we all have the equity to vote whenever we want to. And I know that with the reconciliation that's coming up, we will all have the opportunity to vote. Like Alder Tate commented, this will impact elections from the city level to the county, to the state, to the national. And as with everything that's going on now, and as everyone before me has stated, this will impact us for the next 10 years. All of the alders here had an opportunity, I believe, from the beginning of the process to join in. They were Zoom meetings, so any alder that wanted to could have joined in. They could have asked for information at any given time. So I do not feel that it's necessary to put the maps, because we did have a number of alders on last night that followed the entire process of how we arrived at the decision we did last night. And it was rejected by Alder Mi'kmaq, and I believe his map was also fairly good, but I do believe Alder Tate's was a little bit better when it would come to redistricting the wards evenly. And Alder Mi'kmaq had, I believe, 6 minority, majority. Alder Tate has 7. So I just believe that all the alders did have an opportunity to sit in on this process while it was going on. And therefore I don't see, and they were mailed different maps, although as one alder stated, they may not be able to see them in full detail. But I'm just saying this process has been going on for at least 4 weeks now. So anyone at any given time could have asked how the process or made reference to it. Thank you. And I'm going to be voting in favor of going with Alder Tate II map. Thank you.
Point of order for Mr. Letney. If I ask for call the question and it gets in, I think we need an opportunity to second it and vote on it. I don't think it can be overruled. So I'm still making a motion.
So
To call
Alder
a
Taft, you,
question.
you can call the question, and at that point, we can go to immediate vote if we see we've exhausted the debate. I rejected that call because there were people who hadn't spoken yet who wanted to
So
speak.
can we ask Attorney Letney what
but
the
you-
process is?
But it would
Yeah.
be in order if you wanted to formally make a motion to call. the question.
I'm sorry,
That-
I intended to formally make a motion, so that was my intention to formally make a motion. So I am moving to call the question.
And I make a second.
There's a motion to call the question and a second. I don't recall if this is a debatable item or not, so I'm going to ask Mr. Letney if the vote on the question is a debatable item or not. Or if the city administrator knows. I apologize. I should know the answer to this, and I don't off the top of my head.
As agreed to, Scott, is the Attorney Letney is in another, but I just texted him, so he could get ready to get on. So I'm just killing time for him to get on.
I'm on. What's the question? I'm sorry.
There's a motion and it's been seconded to call the question. Attorney Letney, I don't recall if that is a debatable item or not. Does it go immediately to a vote, or is calling the question a debatable item?
It is not a debatable item, but does require a 2/3 vote.
Oh, okay. All right, so it is not a debatable item and it requires a 2/3 vote. And that being the case, I will ask Deputy or Assistant Clerk, Assistant Clerk Pfeiffer to call the roll. When she calls your name, please vote as you wish. Again, this is a vote to call the question, which would end debate and allow us to immediately go to a vote on the question on the floor.
Alder Taft,
Yes.
Alder Mikma,
No.
Alder Lemke,
No.
Alder Coe,
No,
Alder Jones,
Yes,
Alder Tate II,
Yes.
Alder Santiago,
aye.
Alder Caprillion,
Absolutely not.
Alder Peterson,
You're muted.
Yes.
Alder Horton,
Aye.
Alder West,
Aye.
Alder Pete,
Yes,
Alder Rouse,
No.
Alder Perez,
No.
eight ayes, 6 noes.
Do not believe that reaches the 2/3 threshold. The motion to call the question fails. And we can resume debate on the floor. I believe Alder Perez was next.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's obvious that all 4 members that submitted their plans did a lot of intense work here. And it's difficult to understand at times how, in fact, the districts got changed. And I know it's necessary and it has to comply with the counties. I myself have believed this is very important. And I'm not aware that everyone on this council is aware of that, but I was an inner city pastor. I was an African-American pastor in Michigan, and I've been a Hispanic pastor. So enabling our communities to have access to voting is very important for me. And so I understand by looking at the maps that President Tate's maps have 7 majority minority districts, and that was very good work. But I also did look at Alder Caprilli's map, and that one has 8 and seemed to be more detailed in ferrying out those areas. And so as we continue to acknowledge the significance of this vote tonight and move forward, I am going to vote no on this one, giving more opportunity to, if it goes that far, to Caprillian's map, because I think that is a more equitable map of the ones that we're looking at. Moving forward, I understand there could be reconciliation and some changes before we do it tomorrow at our meeting or whenever the meeting is. But I, you know, I, voting is so important. It's one of those rights that when you're an immigrant like myself, you cannot take for granted. And when you've been in this community and your rights have been violated, like Alder Jones said, and others that I've spoken to personally, voting is super important, and super important that we have proper representation. So having a wider number of minority majority districts, I think it does a better service than lesser, which would do a disservice. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Pete. Alder Mi'kmaq. Or I'm sorry, Alder Perez. Thank you, Alder Mi'kmaq.
I apologize, Your Honor, but I believe Alderman Capralian and Alderman Rouse had their hands up before me.
Thank you for that. It's hard to see from screen to screen. I apologize. Alder Rouse.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. The one part that still bugs me about this is I was content with the process. I felt like I was able to participate in the meetings and even like talk and engage like I was a part of the committee. I really like that aspect. But things changed from the vote last night to where we are now. And that's where I'm uncomfortable because I was not a part of that process. Whatever happened between the recommendation last night and right now, that happened not in the public. That I don't know what happened in between those two moments. So I want to have the chance to discuss both these things out there because I don't feel like I have a comfortable recommendation. Because if I followed that. I followed the ad hoc. I was on there. I watched it, and I was comfortable with how things, other than the contentious part. But that's unfortunately an aspect of how it was set up, and I don't want anyone to take this part personally, especially after we're done voting on this. I know we all feel kind of tense right now, but that's how the process was ran, and it's unfortunate. We had 4 people trying to submit something that they had a lot of pride in, that they worked really hard on, and then we all have to get here and tell them what we don't like about the other ones and why we have to pick one. And that's hard, and I get that. So going forward, I just want to make sure that we can get done with this and take a deep breath and get back to working together because we don't need to be tainted. We can go forward past this.
Alder Capralian.
Thank you. I want to thank Alderman Perez for taking the time to look at the numbers. That was something I was going to announce. I have 8 minority majority. It has been mentioned by Taft, by Tate, by Jones, and by Pete. And if I'm missing one, I apologize. That is a focus, and that is definitely considered. And I think everyone did have an opportunity to be part of this process, but those who are on committee know, and it was repeatedly said by our president that he wished more people were there and present, and they weren't present for various reasons. They trusted in the ad hoc committee. And so now that the vote is on you, I believe that you need to be able to see the details of both to make the decision. If you have somebody from the ad hoc committee telling you some information that is different than what is being presented, you need to be able to see it instead of blindly voting. I think you do a disservice to our process, our democratic process, and I ask that you vote down this, and let's take the opportunity to be able to see both and to see what each person is saying and what some of these people are vying for and announcing. So I just think this is a very unfair process. This is very questionable what happened to last night and where we are today.
Alder Mi'kmaq.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I feel that I bear the unfortunate burden of having brought us to this point, and I understand where people are feeling skeptical, and I honestly made the decision to support a repeal of my motion because I was trying to do the right thing. And people that want to insinuate that there might have been a lack of integrity, that's fine if that's the way they feel. But I've truly been very genuine in my approach to this, and even the point that got us here this evening. And I do appreciate where Alderman Rouse is coming from and trying to express the intent that this could be an opportunity to consider both of these maps. And even now, and I said it in my first piece, and I said it, I'm going to say it again, like none of this has been comfortable. And even now I feel very uncertain on the best way to proceed. And I have this entire time. I certainly appreciate a lot of the things that Alderman Tate II and Alderwoman Kupralian put into their efforts in this. At no point yet, even this evening, have I expressed support for either of their maps either. I know it was suggested earlier that I did, but I have not done that. I suppose at this point and where we're at and the process in knowing, and everybody now just getting a glimpse at how complicated and convoluted and challenging and difficult this all is. Maybe I'm 100% wrong. I seem to be a lot of that lately, but I feel that it is only going to significantly complicate things if we try to bring forward two maps and have a long drawn out discussion among this entire committee. I wish more than anything that we had time to send this back to committee and do this all over again. Unfortunately, we don't. For what it's worth to the group in the body who's going to be voting this evening, where I will be shortly put to a decision, I would have to fall back on some of the parameters that the committee itself expressed as interests, areas of interest and areas of preservance, whatever that word is, as we started going through this. And one of the main significant ones was preserving our commercial districts, keeping each of those commercial districts in a single district. And I know that came up last night, and I was able to express why I thought that was so very, very important last night. And I know we don't get to review the two remaining plans in detail, but I do know that in that vein alone, Alderman Tate's preserves the two, while the other one provided by Alderman Kupralian did not. That may or may not be a deal breaker for anybody else. I know that is very important to me. But the other pieces obviously were addressed. The majority minority were addressed by both. So I think, there's certainly some components there, but I also really am, it's a hard pill for me to swallow that we would just immediately bend to the borders put forth by the county. I find that to be a very complicated situation, because I don't believe, and again, this is strictly my opinion, I don't believe that the county did everything they could to take into consideration the needs of our community when they drew their lines. And to think that we can just make it fit to make the whole process easier is a hard thing for me personally, and this is just me, hard thing for me to find a way to support. So because of those things, because I think that trying to introduce an extremely difficult, challenging, impossible feeling process to this whole body to hash out for another 3 to 4 hours, which is probably what it would take, in all honesty, I just don't know that that's the right course to take. I appreciate where Alder Rouse is coming from. I don't think that he's wrong, but I don't think that this is the best way or opportunity to do it. I just wish we had more time. So for what it's worth to any of you, that's where I stand, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Alder Mi'kmaq. Alder Tate II.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to speak to some of the comments that were made, particularly as it relates to the insinuation that, something else is going on here. I think the entire process has always been a matter of, we meet and then we receive feedback from constituents, from alders. We send out emails. Alder Kupralian actually started that process of sending out her maps and soliciting information from others between meetings. I followed suit. I thought it was actually good practice. I thought it was wise and judicious to do that, because we can't meet in person. Not everybody's always at the meetings. So those of us that did that received feedback and took it into consideration. I think what Alder Rouse is seeing right now is, even after the meeting, Alder Mi'kmaq received feedback as well about what was presented and, concerns, and perhaps had not been thought about at the time. And being the judicious man that he is, took those seriously and evaluated where those lined up in the entire process in the broad spectrum. And that's how we get to a place where we're like, maybe what we did last night, isn't the best choice for us to move forward. There's nothing nefarious about getting information and making a different decision. I think that's exactly what we're supposed to do as alders and town leaders and deciders is we receive information, and it would be irresponsible on us to not integrate that information and allow it to potentially change our opinion on issues. So that's one. Two, there are a number of things that balanced out the process. And I think we did, many of us, as best we could, tried to take them out and balance them. I think Alder Taft spoke to it well in saying the intentionality of doing a certain thing and then describing that thing. Because it's one thing to have done it and maybe happy accident, intentional, but not to tell anybody that you did it. I think I would have appreciated if Alder Caprillion had noted that she made 8 majority minority districts because it never came up last night or any time before that was the number of districts that were produced. And because that mattered to me, I felt it was important to say that in the committee and to let others know, this is what we're trying to do. Because from the beginning, we said the goal was 7 to 8 because half the city is people of color. So it should be 7, 8. And it's, the best way to divide 15 would be 7.5, but that's not how districts work. So between those two is the goal. I'm glad to hear that, I wasn't the only alder to meet that goal. I'm glad to hear that Alder Caprillion also meet the goal, exceeded the goal that I was able to achieve. I'm glad to hear that. I wish I would have heard that last night. I wish, that would have been something that was mentioned as it relates to advocating for one's particular map to be adopted, but it wasn't mentioned. And there were other aspects of the maps that were concerning that we discussed and have received feedback on the whole time. But the reason things are different for those who might feel like they're different is because we're actually at a deciding point. And this is where the work begins. This is where the responsibility weighs. And it does feel different when you're actually faced with a choice. And now we are faced with a choice as a body of choosers. Instead of being able to say like, I think we should adjust like this. Now it's time, what they say, the rubber meets the road. And there's going to be some probably rubber burning in that process as we get up to speed. And that's just the discomfort that comes with governing because there are no easy answers. There are no perfect outcomes. And I absolutely 1,000,000,000% agree with Alder Miedema. The luxury that we don't have right now is time. Because if we did, we continue to discuss this, we would continue to go back and forth and we tweak it till everybody was entirely satisfied. The luxury that we also don't have is, 700 additional people being counted by the census in the jail to make that district more satisfactory to those who are in that area. That was also a luxury that we didn't have, and we have to work with the numbers that we have. The luxury that we also don't have is unlimited parameters in terms of what our districts need to be, what the county's districts need to be, and the legal requirements for the largest and the smallest district. Those are luxuries that we don't have. And because we don't have those luxuries, tonight on October 14th, we're making a decision to move forward because we don't have the luxuries that we wish we did. And we're making, hopefully, the decision to move forward with the best potential outcome that we have and the one that meets the most needs and identify parameters that we discussed. For everyone that's been there, not participated or had participated or asked questions, by now you probably have a good idea of what the parameters were. Keeping commercial districts not split, at least the ones that are, not 2 miles long like Douglas Avenue. It's kind of unavoidable. Or Washington Avenue for that matter, which is less of a commercial district and more of a commercial corridor, to make that distinction. To maximize or at least meet 7 to 8 minority districts. To keep alders who are elected within their current region so that they're able to maintain that district and not be put into a district with someone else, where they may have to fight with a current sitting alder for that seat. That was checked. To remain relatively compact and contiguous in a way that makes sense visually, spatially, so it's not looking like this for the 9th district anymore. So, I mean, those are some of the things we discussed. This is what I attempted, and in attempting to put that map together, I also considered if we deviate, how will the county be able to work with that? I deviated in such a way that I reviewed how those deviations actually played out for the county district numbers. They remain within no more than 3% deviation. You know, Alder Capellion will probably note that, or did note last night, that the county's original maps, countywide east of the eye, were all less than 1% deviation. That's exactly what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to give those municipalities a relatively equal starting point. And if we adjust, it's on us, not the county, to have something that's disparate. That was their job. We do our part to say this is how we think it should break down. And if it deviates, that's ultimately our decision, because we're the local representatives. We create the wards and we take into consideration neighborhoods, placemaking, commercial districts, and those sort of things in drawing those districts. Not everybody's satisfied with the outcome. That usually probably means it's a good outcome, because no one's supposed to get everything that they want, especially when we're talking about affecting 78,000 people, 15 alders, and who knows how many more elections going forward. So I appreciate the debate. Hopefully I've addressed like some concerns and feelings of discomfort through this process. You know, when I find things contentious, I actually don't get uncomfortable. I feel like that's how it's supposed to be. And hopefully kind of newer members like Alder Rouse, you kind of get comfortable in that discomfort, because that's where real work tends to begin. So don't feel bad about feeling a certain way right now. It's a growing pain, and I want you to be encouraged in that. So with that, I will yield, and hopefully we can move forward with, taking an up or down vote. I would speak against, considering bringing up another map at the same time, because, well, we should go one at a time, but I think the best potential outcome of this process is before us right now. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Tate II. Alder Capellion.
Thank you. Alder Tate is absolutely correct. Talking about time, there is a limit of time in which we have, and us spending time, we've been here for long meetings before. This is something that affects the next 10 years. And so it deserves our time this evening. So let's not make a decision and be hasty just because we want to end this meeting quickly. But on the flip side, the time that the county has to work out a reconciliation, looking very briefly at the maps, I already see 7 areas of deviation that would have to be looked at. Now realize 16 out of the 17 municipalities have already voted for their plan. So that's all of them that are surrounding us, and any lines that get deviated would have to remain within our boundaries of the city. And I take offense that there was accusations laid out there that the county, when creating their lines, had their own interest at hand, and that they had some type of personal self-fulfilling intent. And it just as when we were doing these maps, it is creating a line to find the right deviation, to find the right percentage and the makeup. This process, these are nonpartisan seats. And when we talk about, and I heard this early on, that I don't want to lose this voting body or this voting area. That's gerrymandering. They might know you. You may have always had them. You might not have them now. Why do we do this? The census comes, and this process is to equally divide the population. Looking at the population and equally divide it. One person, one vote. It does not mean that it's an opportunity for the electeds who are part of this process to pick their voters. The voters get to pick you. So when we are making our lines, we're doing them, we are hearing. Our committee, the ad hoc committee, did not have a list of tenants of things to check off. So we all went forward. The only thing that came out of it is for us to keep the remaining alders who are sitting, or the alders that are sitting in their districts, to remain in their districts. And then we were kind of off on our way. However, in the Y system, in the map system, those who actually had to do it, there are things that are measured, from deviation, compactness. Alder Tate brought about compactness. You wouldn't know if his map is more compact than mine, but guess what? I would know that, because I've been looking at the maps and I've been working at that, because I've been trying to maintain those items that the WISE map has They have deviation, they have a range. Wards have to remain within a certain size. And then, of course, our population has to be equally divided. And then it gives you the demographics. So keep it in mind. So all those lines on the top that you guys don't know, but people doing those maps do know. I paid close consideration when doing that whole thing. So, and also what I considered was this process. I was part of this process 10 years ago, part of it again now, but now I'm more detailed because the way this is structured, and I hope history is watching this, when this goes down in history for 10 years and from now, when they're looking, that it will not do it this way again. This has pitted people against their intentions, their plans against others, that is very ugly. I also kept in consideration that this process where the county makes their lines first, there's a reason why the law states that. The city or the county of Racine has 17 municipalities. So it only makes sense that they make their lines first and then the wards then get filled into those municipalities. And into those lines. So you have a map. I was able to work within that structure and give you a map that keeps everything in consideration, from deviation to compactness to keeping in the ward lines. There is no reconciled process that needs to take place. And to say that the county had their own interest dividing up certain areas, intently, no, they did it to make their numbers. And the city, all 17 municipalities were offered at the beginning in August this process to work with the county. And 16 of those municipalities took up on that offer to be part of that process. We were the only exception to that.
So point
now
of order, I think we're supposed to be talking about a map. We're talking about that's presented on the floor. We're sort of deviating from the conversation about the map we're supposed to be discussing. I'm just putting it out there.
Alder Caprillion has the floor. Please continue.
Thank you for that. There's been a lot of deviation. And so what I'm speaking for, this is very unfair for you to blindly go forward. And first of all, not have a check boxes that, does this map meet this, and this? If we're going to do that, the things that have been announced, you haven't seen a side by side to see, okay, my minority majority, you haven't been able to see compactness, you haven't been able to see contiguous, all those things that have been talked about, you haven't been able to see. So certain things may have been announced because it's been important or at the priority of their list, but if it's on your list, let's take a look and let's compare the two side by side. Thank you.
Alder Pete.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I would just like to point out that I think that we're at a point, I respect the comments made by all of my colleagues, take it very seriously, and I understand that, and I think all of us on the governing body do so. But I also feel that we're at a point where we have to appreciate and respect the integrity of all of ourselves and make a decision based on the information that we have and taking into consideration all the evidence that has been made in support of the proposal or plan before us. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Pete. That exhausts the speakers. When the clerk calls your name, again, this is in regards to President Tate II's maps. A vote, an aye vote is a vote to move that map forward. A no vote is to not move that map forward. When the clerk calls your name, please vote as you wish.
Alder Taft,
Aye.
Alder Mikma, Alder Mikma,
Again,
sorry, thank you.
that's it.
Alder Lemke,
Alder Lemke, could you repeat yourself?
No.
Alder Cole,
No.
Alder Jones,
Aye.
Alder Tate II,
Aye.
Alder Santiago,
Aye.
Alder Caprillion,
No.
Alder Peterson,
Aye.
Alder Horton,
Aye.
Alder West,
Aye.
Alder Pete,
Aye.
Alder Rouse,
No?
Alder Perez.
No.
9 ayes, 5 noes.
That motion carries. Last thing on the agenda is announcements. Before we go to that, I will just say I've never been part of a redistricting process where everybody is happy with whatever map is adopted. So congratulations, you are part of a time-honored tradition of a very difficult process. And it happens every 10 years. So it's like people forget how hard it can be, and to reassemble and do it is pretty remarkable. The other thing that you all deserve credit for is there was a very delayed process from the federal government in getting data. People are right. Usually we have more time to do this. So it has been compressed through no fault of the cities. And so the work that you've done in a very short period of time is admirable. And lastly, Alder Mi'kmaq, I would just say to you, in terms of the work that you've done around this and your consideration on it and the work you've been doing around equity and some other things, we are lucky to have you on our council. Alder Tate II.
I did want to wish a happy birthday. I believe the mayor's wife had a birthday recently, so I'm going to steal that announcement.
I did it last time. But you can do it too.
But I also, I know we voted already on the item, and this isn't much of an announcement, but it's also not a political thing, but I said it before, and I can't say it enough. You know, even though it's intense, and this is the first time I've ever done redistricting as well, it is an honorable process and an honorable thing to have led this, even if not everybody's satisfied or, not pleased with it. As I said in the beginning, last time this was done, we handed it off to city staff and let them do it the whole time. This time it was us, the representatives, the people that people put here to do this work. And I think that means something. And, whatever the outcome is, I think it matters that it was alders who had this conversation. It was alders who created the maps, even if we're not map making experts, and tried to make the tools work to serve our constituencies. So I just want to thank everybody for their participation. I hope that the temperature does come down a bit after this, despite how people may feel. And reconciliation will go forward, and we will do everything we can to make sure that, if there are adjustments made or need to be made, that is in a way that serves our constituency well. So I'm just grateful to everybody's participation in the process, those who have weighed in, those who haven't weighed in, haven't had time to, because this is a big deal. And odds are I won't be here the next time this occurs. Most of us won't be here the next time this occurs. And we won't be the ones necessarily directly affected by what we choose to do here today or chose to do here today. So I don't want it to be lost on us, the gravity of the actions that we take and the impacts that they have on the people we serve. So just thank you.
Alder Tate. Yeah, job well done, Alder Tate, and heartfelt sincerity on the civic responsibility that you have all shared in this effort. So congratulations to all of you for that process. Alder Pete.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I just want to again thank and congratulate Alder Mi'kmaq, Alder Kaprielian, and Alder Jones, and of course myself for all, especially the people who had the other three people that had the plans. You did, if I could say it, I would use a more vivid term, but you did a great job. I appreciate it and thank you all for everything you did. You were awesome. It was a pleasure working with you. And I would just close by saying it really was very difficult, and I had to, being with you on every call, every step of the way, it was a big challenge to look at the parameters that we had before us, find every detail that was relevant and draw a conclusion. As many people have alluded to this evening, it's a very challenging process there where I won't go into detail, but it was a great experience for myself. And as I've said before, I may or may not be one of the older people on the call, but I will conclude with this. 10 years from now, I might be willing to do it again. And I'd like to have you guys with me. And don't give me the excuse you might be tired by then. Because if I can keep running, you can keep running. You all ran a great race. Thank you.
Alder Pete, thank you for your enthusiasm and longevity. Alder West.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to say to the ad hoc committee that put in a lot of time, a lot of detail work with this redistricting, with this mapping. And I just want to say that Alder Jones, Alder Caprillion, Alder Tate, Alder Pete, Alder Mi'kmaq, you guys and ladies did a phenomenal job. I don't want anyone to walk away from this thinking that someone may have won, someone may have lost. There's really no losers in this. And I just want to say that everybody did a phenomenal job. And at the end of the day, we are one. And I'm assuming that we will continue to move in that way. And I'm honored to be a part of this body. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder West. Alder Horton.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. First of all, I want to say happy belated birthday to your wife. And if it's today, happy birthday. I also want to give a special shout out to the ad hoc committee for putting in all the work. Special shout out to Alder Caprillion, who walked me through this thing for about, oh Lord, probably about an hour. And I learned a lot. You know, she didn't hesitate to kind of like show me how this thing should look, talk me through it. And I just want to thank her, especially because we spent over an hour of her doing this during the daytime. She had she really didn't hesitate in walking me through. She would say something like, if I'm talking too much, stop me. I said, no, I'll just keep going and just educating me on what was going on. So I just want to thank you guys for all the work that you guys done on this.
Well said, Alder Horton. Alder Tate II.
Sorry, I got a little emotionally overwhelmed there. The other thing I wanted to note was at the beginning of this process, I did note that not only did we want to kind of do it in this particular way because I wanted to be the legislators doing it, but also by the end of it, identifying how we can do this better the next time and codifying that in ordinance. So if there are things that occurred, processes, things that we think we should have had, that's kind of the next step in addition to actually drawing the actual aldermanic districts. Because only thing we did today was set the wards. We still have to use those wards to create aldermanic districts. Now, we obviously during the process, we anticipated what they might look like, and we had that in mind as we drew them, but that process still does stand before us. So I don't want alders to necessarily disengage and be like, all right, we're done, because we are not. But I do want us to keep in mind of, you know, for what you observed or what you think we should be doing or could be doing differently, particularly when we're not, you know, under the gun of 30-day period from reception to having to return. Please, you know, engage in that conversation and help us codify an ordinance how this redistricting process works in a way that the alders lead it, because we're the representatives and it's a legislative process. So that is, you know, as noted from the beginning, one of the also objectives of this process is to see how it works like this. And if there's other ways or other things we ought to do, let's talk about that, discuss that, and codify that in ordinance. So the next time this comes around, they're not, you know, stumbling around like babes in the wood. You know, they can walk strong and clear and have a clear path on how they go about doing this. And, you know, be sharp, efficient, and direct. So, you know, we go through it so the next group won't have to. And I think that's what I want this body to be about. Like, make the decisions so the next ones that come after us don't have to deal with the same troubles or challenges that we're going through. Let's set it up so it's better off for the next level of representation. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Tate II. Alder Mi'kmaq.
Thank you, Your Honor, and sorry, everybody, to be that guy who puts his hand up when everybody thinks we're done. Not again. No, I'd be remiss if I did not take a minute and an opportunity to publicly thank my wife for taking on our 2 children, who are more than a handful for 3 people by herself while we do these meetings into the late evenings on these nights. Not that I would miss these meetings for the world, but I do, know that I would not be able to do it without her and her Herculean efforts to manage those children, get them to bed, and all of those really important, super special mom things that she does for them. So I cannot say thank you enough to her and her support throughout this process, and for being my emotional support when my emotional instability gets the best of me after many of these long, emotionally exhausting meetings. So she's pretty cool. Thanks.
Thank you, Alder Meekma. Alder Jones.
Thank you, Your Honor. Again, I would just like to say thank you for being on the committee. It was a learning experience, to say the least. I had some computer issues, which caused me to have a little delay, but thanks to Alder Tate and Alder Meekma, and Alder Pete to help me navigate some of them. And although my product wasn't as refined as I would have liked for it to be, it was still a very good process. Thanks for your help and a job well done.
Thank you, Alder Jones. And just one final thing before I go to Alder West to close this out of here. Love the council, love being the mayor. But if tonight was my wife's birthday, John Tate would be in the chair. So, it was a couple of days ago. But thank you, everyone, for your hard work. Alder West, would you like to make a motion to adjourn?
I would move to adjourn.
Is there a second? Multiple seconds. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries. Job well done, everyone. Be safe.
Good night,
Have
everyone.
a great evening all.
Good night.
Good night.